Welcome back to the ACC on ESPN and Wake Med Soccer Park in Cary, North Carolina. How about a 2-0 lead for Florida State? And we look at first half highlights. Early on, we saw decent looks from North Carolina.
Well, this was their best opportunity all day, and Rutriero trying to get to the end line was forced inside, and then the ball was just everywhere, and Dorwart just wishes she could have turned her hips a little bit more, and she wants that back because that was their best opportunity. And then it's been all about the substitutes for Florida State. Howell with an excellent ball in, finding Dorsey, and just with an easy slotted finish, she's able to beat Leshnak, beating her shutout streak, and a well-timed run, staying onside. And then it's Dorsey again. She is just finding so many opportunities, and Connolly makes the cross, poor clearances from North Carolina, and Dorsey was able to pounce on that.
And now it's on to the second half. Florida State, do they hang on and win this ACC championship and reclaim the top of the mountain, or will North Carolina come back and go back-to-back in this ACC tournament? Castellanos. UNC's defense, 7 shots allowed in the first 2 matches of the tournament. They've allowed 2 goals on the 8 they've conceded today. And look, Florida State, the way they're playing right now, it's they're a different animal.
Well, they just keep getting better. The second half of the Virginia game, you saw what they were about. And if they played like that, they won't lose again. They'll be national champions. They just have to play like that. And they didn't start out playing like that in this first half because of the North Carolina pressure, but then they really grew into the game. Castellanos started getting more touches, Howell, Zhao, and now you can see they just wear teams down, and when their substitutes come in, they can make an impact even without those players in there, and that just shows you what an excellent team this team is.
Ball fired across, and there's Leshnak. This is the first time North Carolina has trailed by 2 goals since 2016 when they trailed USC. Put this all in perspective. Well, if you're North Carolina, so we've spoken with coaches throughout this, ACC semifinal, final round, and everyone sort of says North Carolina isn't quite as crazy with their pressure as they used to be. It's not quite as comprehensive as it used to be. They've gone to the 4-back look. So Carolina's made some changes over these last few years, and it seems like right now Florida State's kind of figured out a little bit of it.
Well, they're smart in their pressure. They're just not running around just for the sake of running around. But when Kimball was in the game and Schultz and Andrzejewski, their starting front 3, they did put a lot of pressure on Florida State, and they didn't handle it very well. It's just the bench players, unfortunately, for North Carolina didn't apply that as much pressure, and that's why Florida State started to find that success. Now, can they as a collective unit find players that will put pressure on, because it really did give Florida State fits and it gave North Carolina opportunities. It's just, can they be smart and can they find the players that are willing to defend?
And we asked about depth, and Anson Doran said, if I recruit you, you're here to play, but you have to play defense. Went on to say there were times in the old days where they took a little bit of flack for the amount of depth that they used at times. Zhao plays it back. This pop toward McFarland, and the final goal against Virginia on Friday.
Yeah, I remember getting recruited from Anson Doran. I was recruited as a defender, and he still overemphasized how important it is to defend on this team, and it starts from your forwards. They dictate that pressure. They have to run around. They have to be smart when they're doing it, but they are the ones that set the tempo, and then everyone behind them follows their lead. And Kimball did a really nice job in the first half when she was playing, and it's going to be interesting to see if she can continue that in the second half.
Only 2nd foul by Florida State. This possession-oriented team late in the first half really showed their teeth. Struck by Wubin Moy. Farland into space. Wubin Moy dropped off and then gets beat. Return to Zhao. off of Andrew Jeske. Throw for Florida State. Coming in, we knew this was going to be a fun match, an evenly matched game, in part because these are really the two teams that most recently have put together dynastic runs in the ACC. It was, what, 5 straight years from 05 to 09 or 04 to 08. North Carolina has that run in the early 2010s from Florida State where they came out on top in the ACC tournament. Dorian Bailey. Bailey plays this to Pinto. Pinto fired that, and it didn't hit anybody, and spins out of play.
Well, it didn't hit anybody, says the referee, but I think he got that one wrong. And Pinto, this is another one that she wants back, and it definitely looks like it hits Pavlisco on that, but she just didn't get enough underneath it. Falls to a bit of a weaker foot, and she tries to get it on frame, but to me, it appeared it hit off Pavlisco and should be a corner kick for North Carolina.
Kimball heads it down. Schultz. Up by Bollinger. Bingham. Gonna run this all the way out. I'm struck by the conversation we had at halftime during the Florida State-Virginia game on Friday with Anson Dorrance. Who would you rather see in the final? And he starts by saying, well, we've already played Florida State and beaten them, and the hardest thing you can do is beat the same team twice.
It really is hard, and especially a team of Florida State's caliber. You go down and they weren't a full roster because they had players getting call-ups for international duty, and now they are playing at their best towards the end of the season. They saw Florida State early on, and now they're seeing Florida State playing their best soccer of the year. So it's not only hard to beat a team twice, it's hard to beat a team like Florida State twice, and that's why that was his first comment, but he knew both for Florida State and Virginia were going to be a tough contest today.
Tossed in by Carl. And comes down to Tillman. Gabby Carl. Tillman. Squares up, interior touch. And slipped through for cast down. A flag is up, offside. Leshnak did well regardless. Able to get a foot to that.
Well, this has been the problem for North Carolina. Goff got a little bit lucky with Castellanos being offside. The right call, but Goff is ball watching. And that's where Florida State is really killing that defense because their movement has been so sophisticated. North Carolina has to keep their head on the swivel. They can't just keep your eye on the ball. You have to be making sure that you know where every player is.
Pinto. Here comes FSU. Ball for Zhao, picked off by Pinto. Leads this over to Ashley. Carl, a native of Quebec, Canada. Midfielder turned defender, passes ahead. Castellanos and Carl again. The Seminoles. That's headed right back up the middle. McFarland. Ashley, well, that's great extra effort, Pavlisko. And the throw goes right back to Florida State. And they seem to have found their groove again 10 minutes into the second half.
Yeah, they really have. And as soon as North Carolina wins the ball back, they've been giving it away. And that's typically what North Carolina is known for, is when they give the ball away, they win it back immediately. So the tables have turned a lot for North Carolina. They just can't connect passes. They're not looking for people. They just haven't really gained any rhythm. And right now, Florida State is so content to keep the ball. They're not worried about getting any goals at the moment. They're up 2-0. So North Carolina has to change some things right now to really get anything into the attack.
Kingman comes in, Otto takes a seat, and that is right in to Tillman. Lasted diagonal ball from Berkeley.
You're talking about Anson Dorn's dying to play the 3-4-3, just doesn't have the personnel. I wouldn't be surprised if we started seeing that 3-4-3, just because they're struggling, especially in the midfield. They might want to clog it a little bit more, get some more play out wide, because they're not keeping the ball through the midfield. Once they do have it, there's a lot more space out wide for them to see if they can find success.
Kimball tries the right-hand side. Andrew Jeske gets the byline and smashes it right at Bollinger. And let's talk about personnel for a moment, because this is not a Kimball problem. This is not an individual problem for Carolina, but there are some significant missing pieces. Emily Fox, most notable. Rachel Jones, not up to full ability. And then there's Russo, which you lose the Conference Player of the Year in the ACC. I mean, you're talking a major drain of talent.
And there she is right there, but what is so good, you can see she's first team All ACC, Offensive Player of the Year. One thing that she also does is she's smart in the pressure, so defensively she does really well, but she holds the ball for North Carolina, and that's what they've been lacking this whole game. When they finally find that release point, look for their forwards, they've just been giving it away.
Kimball, hands to her face, didn't get nearly enough on that. And look, Kimball is a player that's waited her turn, scored a goal of massive implication in the quarterfinal round that got North Carolina through. To pin any of this on her, it is not at all the intention, but rather, you know, you could have her coming off the bench. You look at Florida State, and they've got a player like Connolly coming off the bench, and that kind of depth could be the difference between whether you're able to get pressure with your front three and their reserves or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. And, you know, when you have a natural goal scorer like Russo, too, that's not very common. And Kimball is such a hard worker. She does such a good job. All the wingers and front line does an excellent job. Just sometimes you just have that knack, and when you're missing that, especially someone like Russo, I think, who takes a shot just about everywhere on the field just because she wants that ball near the goal. So, you know, all those players are so talented. It's just add a Russo to them to complement them as well. Just because, you know, she's U20 World Cup, played for England, who got into the semifinals, and then just recently got a call up with the England women's national team, unable to go because of the injury. And, you know, that just shows the kind of caliber that you're missing with that injury, and she won't be available for the rest of the season.
Kimball's got Russo's number 19 on a wristband that she's wearing out on the field. This whole team devastated by that loss. Kimball poked away by Howell. Andrew Jeske touching inward. Been Couldn't get through to Kimball, but able to recover, and Kimball head on a swivel. Deflected, great recovery by Kuika.
Kimball works so hard off the ball, and that's the pressure that Anthony Dorrance was talking about. And at halftime was they need her out there for that pressure. Now what she needs to do is collect her thoughts and find the next pass. Find the next shot, get a better shot off, find Andrzejewski making that run through, and that's the next level for her going forward in the season.
Kingman, Kimball dragged her run. Got her heels clipped as she approached the corner flag. That was probably going to get out on its own. And now a set piece for Carolina's Florida State. Less than half an hour away from potentially getting their ACC title.
It looked like Kimball probably would have gotten to it, and just unfortunate for Carl to get her legs tangled. She was frustrated because she didn't try to foul her. It just was an unfortunate event that she got the call, and this is a dangerous situation for North Carolina.
Ruben Moy captained the English U17s at that World Cup. As Ashley right out in front of Bollinger. Ruben Moy. Andrzejewski rose up for that. And a glancing blow. Goff. Schultz drives in. Schultz turning the corner, lifting this up. It's caught by Bollinger. And then the ball comes loose on the goal line. She's injured, clearly got the wind knocked out of her. That was a supremely athletic grab. She's paying a pretty serious price.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I don't know if she got the wind knocked out of her, or she landed awkwardly on one of her arms. This is, for Schultz, this was where she was very successful against Clemson. It just gets a little ricochet. Bollinger does a good job of saving it. It just lands real awkward, and looks like she is holding that right arm as she's rolling around. And I know that she's rolling around, but for the referee to stop that, they needed to let the Florida State players clear that ball, because that only head injuries do you stop immediately like that, because the ball was loose in the box.
Bollinger remains down. She has played the majority of this year, but not all of it. Caroline Jeffers, you saw her warming up a moment ago, started 18 times a couple years ago at East Carolina and transferred in. Has started a game this year and won, getting a shutout. She's only made one save for Florida State, and the redshirt junior could be called upon here in a pretty significant crunch. And you just feel for the player in Bollinger, because she's able to reach up and snag this ball with such tremendous athleticism. That almost sort of fluttered into the net and could have been a game changer for Carolina. And
that was good feet movement from her to recover, because she was looking for the cross, but the deflection was why she had to change her movement, and that's why it made it for an awkward fall as she comes down. It's just real awkward, and she keeps rolling. The referee immediately blew the whistle.
She's back to her feet, but that's not really the question. Freshman out of Melbourne in Florida. Actually wears 45 after her uncle Rick, but a great reputation. Redshirted last year, got comfortable with the team. Saw Cassie Miller come up with some significant performances along the way, and has captured this starting job and been enormous for Florida State. And she's walking off. It looks like we'll see Caroline Jeffers come in. Well, how does this change things?
It's going to be interesting. It's a different voice for the defense. It's a goalkeeper that hasn't played a whole lot of minutes. But the good news is she does have experience from previous college experiences, and you can see the goalkeeper coach just talking to her, trying to settle her down.
Well, Jeffers' uncle Patrick played at Virginia, then on to an NFL career, Denver, Dallas, Carolina. Uncle is Derek Dooley, the former head coach for Tennessee. And Jeffers set to come on here. North Carolina will make another change as we go. So Jones in for Schultz. And how about Tuesday on ESPN? We tip off the college basketball season, the 8th annual State Farm Champions Classic, with 4 of the top teams in the nation. Number 10, Michigan State, and preseason number 1, Kansas, in the early game at 7 Eastern. Then it's 4th-ranked Duke, 2nd-ranked Kentucky to follow. Both Sonic blockbusters, also available live on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. Well, Jeffers isn't even going to take the goal kick, or the ensuing kick back.
Had enough time to warm up the legs, because you don't want to pull anything on your first kick, so that's why that happened. We'll see if that continues throughout the rest of the second half.
Kimball just got leveled by Villalobos. Well, Carolina's starting to buzz now, and Jeffers will make a catch here. That's significant. First touch of the ball. And Jones goes to ground. Carolina has woken up a little bit here. This will run all the way to the corner.
You saw a little nerves there from Jeffers.
This is knocked down by Kimball. It's towards the goal line. It's in. Carolina's got one back. A devastating mistake in the back. And is that the lifeline North Carolina needed?
Well, what a tough way to come in for Jeffers. Just so difficult with the North Carolina pressure. You're not used to the players running at you because you haven't been in the game, and Kimball has been putting the pressure on Bollinger all game, and now Jeffers just wasn't involved in the game until these moments and just wasn't ready for that kind of pressure, and you just feel for her. And she was called upon so quickly. And Kimball, what an excellent job. She's been the difference for North Carolina in disrupting the pressure, or disrupting the possession with her pressure. It just allows North Carolina to get back in the game.
Dorwart in, Kimball out. 1 minute and 2 seconds. And the previous play is under review. And my question is, does Kimball's arm hit the ball before it crosses the goal line? That's thought number 1 for me.
Thought number 2 is, would the referee call a foul trying to get to the ball as well? Because it does look like she pushed her. It's hard to tell if the ball crosses the line before the handball like you're talking about. Looks like it, no, it definitely goes in all the way.
And it will count. Our referee is Trey Krell. And he goes over, decides he's made the right call. And North Carolina is wide awake now. Florida State a 2-goal lead. The biggest lead against Carolina since 2016. And they're trying to get back on the comeback trail. And a foul now. If you're Florida State, how do you reverse the momentum? Because it feels like it has swung entirely.
Keep the ball. They've been so good at it. This is just a difficult moment for them. Just a difficult misclearance from their newly entered goalkeeper. Just calm you have enough leaders on this team. Calm them down, but calm down with the ball. Keep it on the ground. Avoid the UNC pressure.
Ruben Moy. Header with Mucharera in pursuit, and the pressure wins again. Mucharera drives it across. Well, if this game had hit a bit of a snail's pace, it certainly has gone 0-60 now. All the way to the byline, slid across, and handled by Jeffers.
And that's a good confidence builder there from Jeffers. Getting a clean touch on it. No bobble, and then a good clearance there. And that's what Florida State needs to see from Jeffers now. Just grow into the game a little bit. She was thrust into a high-intensity, high-pressure situation. Now they can slow it down with their possession and just avoiding any kind of crosses from North Carolina or long-range shots to put even more pressure on her.
Carl. And well won by Kingman. Bumped over the top. You have to think that there's not going to be nearly as much help coming off the line from the backup goalkeepers. Maybe Bollinger may have provided for these defenders as well. And you mentioned another voice.
Yeah, it's tough when you haven't had Jeffers behind you consistently in the year. You get used to a certain voice back there, and so now it's going to be interesting for the Florida State defense. They have to have other people step up, like Aquica in the center back position. She's experienced. Coach Krikorian said she has the mentality of a champion. Well, now this is time for that mentality to step up.
North Carolina and Florida State both go to their bench. Dallas Dorsey returns. Right now she's got the game winner. Andrzejewski, Mucherera switching places. Otto comes on. Pinto will take a seat for the time being. Buckle in. We still have about a quarter of this game left. That's if we don't need to go to overtime. Right now, Florida State is still in a fine position. They can recapture that momentum that they strung together. The final 30 minutes of the first half and the first 20 minutes of the second. Carl throws in Tillman. Kingman able to get it away from the Seminole pressure. And upfield for Dorsey. Castellanos, will she shine now in adversity for Florida State? Tillman sizing up Bingham.
And this is a good response from Florida State. See how they slowed this game down just based on their possession. North Carolina is back to chasing. And then as soon as they win the ball, they're giving it away. This has kind of become a theme for this game. And it's because Florida State has done such a good job of keeping the ball.
Good slide in for the Tar Heels. For Kingman, intercepted. Berkeley gets tossed off the ball. Down by Mucherera. Castellanos. Turned over and a little tug there. And another push from behind. Howell surely has to get a booking for this. He's going to be shown a yellow card. Free kick, Carolina.
Howell has to be careful there. This was so obvious and purposeful. She's frustrated because she lost the ball. Good pressure from Dorwart. And then pulls her. And then also fouls her. So that's 2 fouls right in a row. The referee's going to let her play on because Dorwart was strong enough to keep the ball. But then Howell fouls her again. And the referee had to call it there. But she's lucky just to get a yellow card on that one because it was so obvious and purposeful.
Well, things are about to get pretty interesting here. It's not Wubin Moy behind the ball. It's Kingman.
Look at her on the right. We've been sitting there on the right, waiting for it if they want to give it to her.
Kingman lobs it over the top, headed backward, and caught. Just keeping that in play, Jeffers. Julia Ashley got her head to that. Well, here's the summary to this point. Seminoles took a 2-0 lead. The surprise of Dallas Dorsey, who scored twice all season. 2 goals in the opening half, both in the final 10 minutes. But then Bollinger injured with just under 29 minutes to play. And Kimball a goal about a minute 2 later, giving Carolina a lifeline in this ACC championship final. Villalobos turned over. Speed of Dorwart. Pushing and shoving. Ball pops free for a moment. Cuica. Now Villalobos, ridden by Otto. Lifted over Mucherera and headed down. And the whistle late against Carolina, whose pressure is hitting home in a way it hasn't since probably 10 minutes into the game.
Well, that was well done from Cuica on that play. Dorwart was looking to be in a really good position, but Cuica used a little bit of her speed to recover, and then had some pressure on her, and he was still able to get rid of the ball.
Knocked out by Tillman. Out of the reach of Dorsey and collected by Leshnak. She had given up 2 goals all season. She's given up 2 on the day. Turned over by Howell.
That's about the 3rd time that's happened in the last 2 to 3 minutes. She's been turning the ball. Howell has been turning the ball over in there. Either she's getting tired or she's not putting her head on a swivel. She's got to be aware of the pressure from North Carolina.
Throw coming deep in the Florida State half. Florida State's been to this tournament all 24 years. They've been to the semifinals now in 14 of those. Looking for another title. North Carolina's been the dominant force in women's college soccer since its very inception. Free kick coming for Carolina. Driven long toward Ashley. Popped up over the penalty spot. Chance to run out for Dorsey. Wow, look at Jones. Come and take it away for North Carolina and serve the ball across. Headed in! Mucherera! North Carolina levels it! Two-goal deficit, first time in 2 years, and it's wiped away. And this final is back to square one.
What a play from Rachel Jones, though, to win the ball, get the cross off, and what a tremendous cross here. It looked like she was a little bit off balance, keeps the ball in, able to turn her hips enough, and Mucherera jumps up. Ball just clips over the FSU defender. Mucherera is able to head the ball back where it came from. Pavliska was just thinking, how did that get over me? Because she had it covered, but Drew Mucherera with an excellent celebration, getting the game tied 2-2.
Her first career goal. 2 goals in 10 minutes and 7 seconds since the injury to Bollinger. And Mucciarera, who was injured 19 minutes in the last season, the opener against Duke, tore ACL in practice days later. Onto the board, first since that injury. And Mark Krikorian only put his hands on his hips. And for Rachel Jones, U.S. youth national teamer who would be capable of reaching a World Cup with Jamaica if she chooses to apply herself toward that. A massive play. The last time deficit like this was overcome for a win by Carolina, 2014 against Notre Dame.
Well, and look, that cross from Rachel Jones was world class. There was nothing that anyone could have done with that. Jeffers is the one in goal, but that would have been so difficult to save because that cross, her body was not turned to the goal. She was facing the end line, but she turned those hips and just completely ripped that across. Difficult for any defender to save it, for any goalkeeper, and that's where Mucciarera was on the end of it.
Zhao. Is there another twist in this game? Zhao skipped it off the backside of the crossbar. Zhao, the freshman of the year, first team all-conference. And very quickly you can figure out that in Cary, North Carolina, there's a partisan North Carolina tilt. The right-hand side of WakeMed Soccer Park's bleachers here. Home to the College Cup, where both these teams may find themselves at year's end. Home to the NWSL champion, North Carolina Courage, and World Cup qualifying for the United States this year.
And this is an excellent test now for Florida State. How did they respond to this? They responded well for a little bit. They started possessing, started slowing it down, and Coach Krikorian is telling his team, don't worry about it. They are good enough to handle this 2-goal lead given up. They can get that 3rd goal. They just have to calm down, play the way they did in the first half. They were clinical toward the latter part of that half, and they go back to that. They started that way in the second half. Go back to that. Find Castellanos a little bit more. Get Tillman on the ball. Get Zhao on the ball. Change the point of the attack quickly. They have a strong defense. They just have to believe and have your leaders remind the team of how good they are.
Woobin Moy drives into the wind. All deflected down. Not very convincing. Kimball. This is a Florida State team just a little bit rattled and are playing some of their best ball of late. This will run long and bounce into Jeffers. On the rundown for SportsCenter tonight on ESPN, 11 p.m. Eastern, Ryan Clark breaking down Rams and Saints, plus Packers Pats post-game coverage from Foxborough. And Alex Cora taking the World Series trophy to Puerto Rico. SportsCenter, 11 Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. Tillman plays it across, popped up, big contact, no whistle. And Carolina launches it the other way. Long run for Dorian Bailey. Kicked away by Pavlisco, the freshman outside back.
And this game is just getting so stretched end to end. These midfielders are having to cover so much space.
Lifted toward Kimball, the native of Chapel Hill. Kimball couldn't pull that through. If she weaves that ball back, maybe she's got a chance. Off by Ashley. Gone are the days of Carolina high pressing ad nauseum and constantly, but when they do it in this second half, it has been stifling to say the least.
What's just the extra touch from the Florida State players that is unnecessary? They were able to get away with it in the second part of the first half. They were able to get away in the first part of the second half, but they're not now. They have to get rid of it quicker.
Jones slicing that across the grain, looking for Andrzejewski.
where they were the most dangerous, it was because their movement was so good. And they were one touch, two touch quick. And North Carolina, they weren't even able to have their head on a swivel because the movement was quick. The balls were quick. That was where they were successful. They're getting a little tired, so they're taking another touch unnecessarily. Go back to the movement. Let the ball do the work and be smart in your movement. And that just really killed the UNC defense. We just haven't really seen that in this latter part of this half yet.
Substitution. Jones comes out. What an incredible assist she had on the game-tying goal. If you only get 20, 30 minutes out of her in this game, she made them totally worthwhile.
Well, only about 20 minutes in the first game, she gets an assist, and not as many as they would want her to have in this game, and gets another assist. So she's obviously an impactful player for this North Carolina team.
Gave a bit of a rest to Maddie Schultz as well. Throw for Goff. Field for Kimball. It's knocked off the ball. Schultz trying to recover. It's behind Bailey, and Tillman slides it ahead. Tillman pulls into Wubin Moy. UNC FSU 7 is looking like a classic. One way or the other. This has had some kind of roller coaster ride to it. Otto clears. And you've been a part of these games in rivalries like this in the ACC. Ball slid ahead. Schultz, long run. Jeffers comes off her line and blasts it away. There's something special about a conference rival like this in a game like this. Approaching the penalty area. Chance perhaps to swing this across. Back to the trailing Tillman.
What is special, I think my senior year.
Chested down and coming out. Grabbed by Leshnak. But back to that senior year.
My senior year, it was a 2-2 tie all the way into the last 5 minutes, and we happened to win 3-2, so this could be another 3-2 game. We only have a little over 11 minutes left, so it was a end-to-end match in that game too, and I remember how exhausted I was, so I know these players are digging deep, they've already probably found their second win. They're now looking for their third or fourth win at this point.
Temperatures in the mid-50s, sun shining. You couldn't ask for a better atmosphere for this ACC Soccer Championship final. And the two teams that everybody thought would be here got the majority of the first place votes in the preseason poll from the coaches. Both have played amazing schedules. They've prepared for a moment just like this. Schultz by Howell. Schultz keeping it still. Ashley, runners there, pointing back. Schultz bypassed that pressure.
Well, and both of these coaches are thinking this is a great learning experience for me to see how my team responds. Being down 2 goals, how does North Carolina respond? And now being up 2 goals, giving up the lead, how does Florida State respond? And this is their last chance to really see and be okay with learning experiences, as the next game they're going to have is in the NCAA tournament, and that's win or go home. So you don't want learning experiences then, but now is a good time that you can learn and build from that and get ready for the NCAA tournament.
And of course the College Cup that's coming here to carry North Carolina. If you're in Raleigh-Durham and you missed this, you still have a chance.
Could see them again in the College Cup playing each other. Third time to face each other this year. Could be a possibility depending on the brackets.
My hand is raised.
Mine
I'd
too.
watch that. Less than 10 minutes to go in regulation with Cat Whitehill, Mike Watts, our entire ESPN crew. This ACC final from Cary, North Carolina. A 2-goal lead is evaporated for Florida State after the injury. Their outstanding freshman goalkeeper. A clear turning point. A game that Florida State, the dominant side, the majority. Dorsey, who scored both goals surprisingly for the Noles in the first half, providing pressure here. Garnet and gold. Three times the winner of the ACC final between these two teams went on to win the national championship. Florida State advanced on penalties to win it in 2016. One of those looked familiar to my partner.
That was the 3-2 game I was talking about in 2003.
Florida State's won this thing as a 6 seed. But now as a 7 seed, this would be the lowest that they've ever won an ACC tournament. Anyone has won an ACC tournament as a 7. Virginia Tech, the last team to get this far as a 7. Castellanos back into the game here. And it almost feels like the biggest misnomer in humanity that Florida State is a 7 seed.
Absolutely. I mean, you're looking at this team right now, and just all across the board, they have so many talented players from top to bottom to forward to midfielder, defender, goalkeeper, all of that. And for them to be 7 seed, it just shows you how difficult the regular season of the ACC is, and just when they do have a full team, how dangerous they can be.
On the 7 on your screen on the scoreboard, that's their national rank too. The offside flag is up here. Carolina coming into this the number 3 team in the nation. 4 times Carolina's been caught offside. That's the first time of the second half. Headed down by Bingham. Casey Tillman. Dorsey approaching the end of the field, laying it back across. It's in for Florida State. Lynch. 3-2 Seminoles.
What a player Dorsey has been today. And again, this is the movement that has been given. The UNC defense fits. They're smart in their runs. Tillman gets a penetrating dribble, and then Dorsey beating Goff in line, and Lynch making the run. No player in blue is marking her. Just with an easy finish for a player like Lynch. And that's just a defensive breakdown from North Carolina on that play.
Uh-oh. Kimball ricochets out, comes toward Andrew Jeske, who's in an offside position. Lynch, the reigning high school national player of the year out of Penn in Indiana. And significant minutes in significant games. A bit of a surprise for Florida State. And it's her 4th goal of the year. This freshman class for Florida State continues to impress. No one's counting out North Carolina just yet. And here they come up the field. Flag stays down. Goff. Now it comes up the far sideline. 5th time North Carolina's been off. Tuesday, special time, 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. The exclusive reveal of the College Football Playoff Top 25 live in between games at the Champions Classic after Michigan State and Kansas before Duke and Kentucky. Reese and the guys, they break it all down, top to bottom, and as always, catch it live on the ESPN app from anywhere.
Well, now North Carolina is in that 3-4-3. They've put Goff more as a forward player that was just called offside. And it's Bingham, Wubben-Moy, and Ashley in the back. So the pressure's going to be even higher for Florida State. Now they just have to be smart, clear it. Don't take any unnecessary chances in the back. Just play it down the field. They're bringing in Anna Patton as well, a more defensive substitute. She can play center back, defensive mid. So they want to make sure they get her heading presence and defensive presence in the game.
And Zhao comes off. Patton played so much. I was asking head coach for Florida State, Mark Krikorian, so, you know, Patton starting the game. No, she didn't start, just played a lot of minutes.
A lot of impactful minutes, too, so she was really good against Virginia on Friday night.
5 Garnet for Florida State. Snap down into the middle of the field. Dorwart, who just came on and scored the game winner in the semifinal against Clemson on Friday night. Dorian Bailey, after putting on the moves, wins a corner for North Carolina. North Carolina hasn't lost an ACC game since 2016 at Notre Dame. 31 games, including the tournament. Undefeated the last 2 years in ACC conference play. 18-0-2. Putting a perfect 10-0 this year. Service, Wubben-Moy. Header snap down right at Jeffers. That is perfect placement.
Well, and good play from Jeffers because she had Dorwart sitting right in front of her. An excellent ball in from Wubben-Moy, and Ashley gets on the end of it open. No player from Florida State getting a body on her, and that's where that zone corner kick defense is always interesting because you have to deal with your spacing, but you forget about the players. And when you have a free run in that, when you're a good header, you love that. And well done from Jeffers there to make the save because Ashley had a good opportunity on that one.
Tillman, Carl, or Bingham. Here comes Otto. Plays that long and kept in front by Kuika. You know, I asked, think about Kuika as a senior, what is the legacy of the 7 seniors on this roster? I was told this is a group that's continued to make contributions to the foundation. Seminole soccer. An ACC championship would go a long way in that foundation. Another one.
She's a special player. From Finland, just been a mainstay in the back for them and a leader. All ACC type player, and she's shown it again today.
Bingham a touch. Wubben-Moy drives off the head of Howell. Andrew Jeske able to push off a Lynch, who right now has the game-winning goal moments ago. Dorwart still going. Kimball slides. Throw for FSU. Under 100 seconds to go in this final.
Well, now Coach Krikorian knows how his team responds. Being up 2 goals, giving up the lead, and they still were able to regain a rhythm after they had lost it, after the pressure from North Carolina had really messed with that rhythm, and they found the back of the net. And they only need a few more minutes, and they're going to be ACC tournament champs.
Dorsey will run this to the corner. How much time will lapse off the clock? Bingham. Under a minute to go. Dorian Bailey takes it away. Comes back to Dorsey. Tillman toward the corner. No whistle. 12-game winning streak through the entirety of conference play. About to end for North Carolina. Castellanos takes it to the corner. Remarkably kept in play. One last try for North Carolina to get forward. He'll run out. Florida State watches their 2-goal first-half lead dissipate, and they recover. Lynch the game winner. Florida State wins the ACC Tournament Championship.
Well, Florida State, they overall were the more dominant team. North Carolina, what an effort to come back being down 2 goals. But in the end, that possession, that rhythm really took a lot out of North Carolina, a tired North Carolina team with such a short turnaround. And Florida State played really well today, but you got to give your credit to North Carolina for making the comeback and giving it everything they could give.
The lowest seed to ever win, and they upset third-ranked, top-seeded North Carolina, whose 12-game winning streak gone with the wind right before the NCAA tournament starts. Kat, incredible final in so many ways.
Yeah, it's no surprise. These are 2 of the best teams in the country. They're fun to watch. 2 different styles, which is fun to watch. Different players stepping up for each team. 2 bench players stepping up for the teams. It just shows the depth, and that's going to be important for them going forward into the NCAA tournament.
So for Kat Whitehill, our ESPN crew led by Eric Lilly and Matt McCandlish, Mike Watt saying so long from Cary, North Carolina, where the 2018 ACC Women's Soccer Champion is Florida State. Coming up next, the American Conference Women's Soccer Championship. All games airing on ESPN Network, streaming live on the ESPN app, or to watch this entire game on replay, go to watchespn.com. This has been a presentation of ESPN. Florida State wins it all.